Hello and welcome to Music with Briley. Let's continue today working on the song Ocean Waves. This is an ambient or a melodic kind of electronic track. It's a bit of a dance track. Let's see where we are. All right. I've been winding it up. It's getting really close to mixing and mastering. I've done some preliminary mixing along the way. Let me double check here. Yeah, I do have some neutron mixing buses on the tracks. And of course I've been doing sculpting EQ. To sculpt the sound a bit early in the signal path. So I think we'll be able to master this soon. It was just occurring to me that it's essentially A prime. It's like a building. There's a little bit of a B in between these little interludes. But it's essentially the same chords repeating. It's like A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. I don't know, there's not really that kind of a structure. It sort of undulates back and forth though. So I realized, let's just call it the A prime. I guess this is just A ternary form, or A, B, A, B, A. I don't know what form that is. So the second A, which is called A prime. Oh yeah, this is kind of nice. They ascend, sort of, and then descend, sort of. I want to also match the energy or try not to collide with the energy in the grid instrument. So if I just put our cursor here, the grid instrument, yeah, so these can actually come up because the grid instrument had come up, now it's coming back down. Right around. Here's where it starts to come back down. So yeah, we can move this up to fill that space. Let's see what happens then. So we've got the grid coming up. Now it comes down. I don't know if my instrument has that range. And the octave shift is still at +1 here. Hey, what's up, River? Welcome. Thanks. How's your day going? All right, so the bell grid starts to ascend here. So these can start descending now. At this point, I'm just in a really fine tuning mode. Let's see. overall drum bus, what we got going on? Percussion. If I just solo the kick and snare, they're pretty much mixed at the same level. That's good. I think I was trying to sculpt this out. It's mainly the delay that's causing a lot of energy there, I think. I don't need so much delay on the drums, I think. $2,000 to $8,000. So this is at 5,000. more steep. To help out this range here. It's a big sweep. It's the main energy I hear here. Oh, true. That brightness. I mean, what I'm essentially doing with this EQ is lowering everything. And these don't have to be so aggressive. Is a bit present there. It should be unmasked though. It's unmasking against the melody. There we go, we're getting a little bit more tame. Oh. Because the bass is continuous, it's continuous energy, basically. It's got a bit of a transient. It's still a lot of energy here. These stems are good, but 4 kilohertz. think we're really good. Bass heavy, it's a little bit bright everywhere. Let's go for it though. Let's go for the mixing, mastering stage. What do you think? All right. I'll take a quick break. Wow, this is huge right here. This, oh, that's basically the thing. I was just working at the CQ. I'm really pushing it hard. The high level, I'm making up for the lack of those high frequencies across the board, essentially. I'm pushing them everywhere though. Except maybe the flute. The pad is just sculpting. I could push that a little bit, around 4. Let's see, around 9. I could push like 3 decibels and use a high shelf. That way I can back my mastering, or my master bus EQ off there. It's like the overall mix, but so we're at, let's go to 9, let's go to 8. This is the ARP. Now this has a lot of high frequency energies, so let's boost it by 3, but using a high shelf. And the bass, yeah, I can bring up some of the, around 8, and high shelf. Whoops. Overall percussion, kicks there, snare. I've been really working the snare a lot, and the stems also. I think that's as much as we can do on the, hey, unspecified individual, thanks for following, appreciate it. So the individual tracks, I think, are kind of sculpted. Let's see if we can back off this EQ here. I mean, here it's not, it's like 10 plus 10, no, plus 7, so plus 5s. Nice, thanks. Yeah, I love Bitwig, it's so great. The depth of this software is amazing. Do you do any live streaming, Bitwig stuff? I think this is just a volume thing. The overall mix right here. Oh, once you figure out Linux, one battle after another. Which Linux distribution are you using? I haven't been working with Linux for a while, but I really I used Linux for probably around 15 years. I might be able to help. Eventually, I just switched over to Mac, and mainly just for pragmatic reasons, just so I can be productive and focus on getting the work done that I want to do. Yeah, Windows though, that's a mess. This is a temporary fluctuation when these flutes come in, so I don't want to put too much weight on this event, and these meters also, I need to use my ears. So I think this was somewhere in between there is good. Pop OS, yeah. Heard good things about that one. Based on Ubuntu. System 76, yeah, nice. Cosmic Desktop. Interesting. Wow, it's written in Rust, similar to GNOME. Looks cool. I've actually never tried Pop OS. And since it's based on Ubuntu, it got a good packaging ecosystem. Do you have a System 76? All right, cool. Yeah, so it's fairly mature sounding. Nice. I'll have to keep an eye on that. One thing that kind of keeps me from switching back to Linux, I suppose, is that I've got a lot of audio plugins that I use that don't have Linux support. That could be changing soon now that VST3 is fully open source. We could get really good VST support. And if that's the case, I would really strongly consider switching back to Linux. My ears are getting a little bit fatigued here. to 2,000, 300 to 2,000, so about 1,000. Let's say that's what this is doing. It's a little bit lower than I would probably want. So let's put it around 700 and use a nice round number like. Hey, thanks, unspecified. I'm in a small loop here at the kind of climax, just trying to do a little bit of like pre-mastering, like basically mixing, but I think it's good. I'm not going to make much more progress here. At this stage, 8K. Pretty good. I don't want to get obsessed. It's a never-ending thing, never perfect, just good enough. That's what I'm trying to do, good enough. All right, let's give our ears a break for just a moment. I like those little delays. Early OTT. What's OTT? I've heard OTT compression. X for records. Dynamics plugin or? Dubstep electro. Yeah, what kind of plugins do you use in your production? Are you doing pure Bitwig stuff? Like, the more I learn about Bitwig, the more, I realize you can get a lot of mileage just from its stock everything. Especially when you get into like containers, like you can basically recreate Neutron with a Bitwig container and an effects processing chain, chain equalizers. Sculptor is an interesting one. I'd have to think about this. It's just a dynamic EQ based on some kind of preset frequency curves. A few hundred VSTs, yeah. Are most of them compatible? Do you think they will run on Linux? Or a lot of them only had Windows and Mac installers from what I can gather. Yeah, that's a good point too. I've tended to buy a bunch of plugins that I don't use. I've been sticking more towards virtual instruments that you just can't reproduce like very easily with stock plugins such as like orchestral or acoustic samples. But the Arturia V collection is like probably one of my favorites overall. All right, so let's go ahead and save this let's create a new file, because this one feature that I wish Bitwig had would be project alternatives, like in Logic, where you have one file, but you can have multiple stages in that file historically. I'm just going to go to this mastering stage in the file name. Valhalla DSP, I see that so much. Their reverbs are top notch. Although I do like, the built-in Bitwig one, it holds its own weight, and the convolution reverb is nice too. I got a couple of those reverbs on my sends here. I'm using them a little bit. Oh, supermassive. Yeah, I didn't realize that was free. I guess that's the gateway into Valhalla DSP is supermassive. Okay, we're gonna use just the cheat code mixing. I'm not super good at mastering and mixing, so I kind of just use these mastering chain plugins from Isotope. Maybe I'll learn more and start to reducing my dependence on Isotope. I'm going to turn down the music volume, because this will tend to increase the overall loudness of the entire thing. And we'll go to the same loop, And we'll just let Ozone listen to it, the dynamics. Yeah, I like Ozone. It's really saved me a lot of time. It comes up with pretty decent results. I need to work on my consistency with it. I get the same tracks on, different tracks on the same album. Wow. Ah, yeah. Oh boy. I forgot just how much it maximizes that music. Yeah, the native instruments announcement, that's going to be interesting how it shakes up with their insolvency, and yeah. I've invested quite a lot in the Contact ecosystem, so that's a bit frightening. We can also hear that Ozone is like really a resource hog. Yeah, isn't it like Native Instruments owns now Isotope, Brainworks, Plugin Alliance. They just like acquired a bunch of companies, didn't they? And then they went bankrupt. What the heck? What the heck? I haven't been tracking it too much, but I do have a lot of Contact. I'm not going to get Ozone 12. It's too much AI stuff that I don't really need. And stem extraction and stuff like that, the focus is going in the direction that I don't find valuable. Maybe Ozone 13 will have back to some features that I'll find more useful in my electronic type work. Yeah, right, all of what we've invested in these ecosystems. Oh, but you know, do you use the Surge plugins, the Surge open source plugins? Surge XT, for example? Because they, yes, it is so good. Surge, I should really get back into using Surge on stream. So then you're aware of the Short Circuit XT, I'm sure of that. Yeah, exactly. Dude, this is so cool. So, you know, I haven't tried it out. I'm looking at the builds here. They got nightly builds, January 7th. And they have built it for all the platforms, not all the platforms. Yeah, Linux, Windows, and Mac. Yeah, so this would be interesting to stick with like a pure Bitwig, and then now an open source sampler, where we can start building virtual instruments and sharing those. All right, I'm gonna go back into the stutter mode, but yeah, apparently I might have to do mastering off stream because this is a resource hog. OTT alternative as full parity. Okay, so polarity, is it a VST or is it a Bitwig like container? Yeah, I've been following Polarity a little bit. I unsubscribed for a minute because I didn't like the tone of some of his content, but I think he's switched back to being more music production oriented, Bitwig oriented, and maybe not following the algorithm as much. Let's do a gain match and see if this did actually. Make a difference. Okay, so this needed to come down like 15 decibels. It added a loudness. Massive. Gain match here. Bypass. Before. After. Before. After. So yeah, I like it. So a good sign here is that the EQ is not working super hard. It's still helping me get these highs. it's still pushing down these mids. Yeah, these mids have been fighting these, I'm not sure. I gotta get better at mixing. Not sure what's anything going on here. A little bit wider stereo. Image. Yeah, I guess I can hear that. Clarity. It's just bringing out clarity in the highs. It's stabilizing it. Again, pushing down the mids, but it's not having to work super hard. That's good. And it did find some resonances. This is what I like. It kind of stacks all these up for me. It saves me a lot of time. But it is intensive. And here it's pushing it so hard to the max. True, yeah. So I was thinking about that too, like the Beatles, even when they were putting out albums in the early days of stereo, they would just put a guitar in like the left or right channel. Radiohead does this too. I haven't done that in a while. I've done that in the few previous tracks. Not so hard left or right though. But a lot of the instruments in this particular one are moving. They're like modulating around. So I haven't wanted to put the main like instrument left or right because of the effects of taking it around. All right, let's go ahead and back to the loudness boost. But I think we're good. I think this is actually what I would call good enough to share. Okay, cool. Yeah, what do you think of the, it's so glitchy, I don't know. Just close a couple of things. Okay, close Chrome and Discord. Here's a Discord, by the way, if you want to hop in there. Yeah, I'm hoping it can be kind of inspiring, uplifting. Maybe good for like a dance, like an ecstatic dance. Match that good vibe. I feel like it has enough backbeat, so it gets you moving a little bit. Daytime set. True, yeah. Bright sunshine. Very cool. Yeah, I've been working on this for probably 10 hours, 5 or 10 hours. It's not a huge time investment, but I think it's kind of ready. Well, what I usually do is I gain stage these, not gain stage, I upload them to SoundCloud first, just kind of stage them like before release, listen to them around the town, different environments, different headphones. And as I build the album, I'm just staging all of the tracks until they're all ready, and then I'll do the release. I'm trying to get this release out by like July, when I have 6 to 10 tracks. This is the first one that's sort of close to completion. Yeah, you got, what's your SoundCloud? If you can send me the link in the chat. Let me make sure that if you get, let's see. Oh, actually, well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I could subscribe to you on SoundCloud. Let me check it out. If you just write your SoundCloud username, I have a bot, because I've been getting hit by a bunch of spam bots with like sending links and stuff. So I have a bot that may be a bit too aggressive. Streaming is secondary, but I'm trying to every time improve the stream just a little bit, just a little bit. So today I added a little helper to share the Discord thing. Okay, cool, cool. Let's see if you got cursed at by the bot. Nice, light through, good. New Zealand, okay, cool. I'll give you a follow. Electronic music producer based in New Zealand. The Growth EP is now available for pay what you want download. Want to help with your project, offer mixing and mastering services. Nice. Please consider donating a couple dollars to help me make more music. Definitely, we need to support independent artists. Okay, cool, and you got all the socials set up. I haven't been doing the Twitter as much. But, of course, Twitch, and where was it? Twitch, Spotify, yeah, we're doing the releases. Deezer, okay, so you're promoting Deezer as well. Is that one pretty popular? Apple, Google Play, also YouTube Music, it's kind of, I think, isn't that now superseding Google Play, if I recall correctly? Very cool, I've followed you on the socials. Okay, what is this word? Aotearoa. 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 SoundCloud. Yeah, SoundCloud's pretty cool. I was using the SoundCloud for artist distribution channel, but I did switch recently to amuse.io. Amuse is pretty good. Maori for Land of the Long White Cloud. All right. Neurohop, I've never heard of that. That's cool. It's like IDM, but for trip hop or hip hop. Glitch hop, mid-tempo. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm in the mid-tempo zone as well. Even though this track is 80 BPM. I don't know what qualifies as mid-tempo, but I'm even doing like 50 BPM. And you know, with subdivisions like 16th notes and even 32nd notes, it's you know, kind of shifting. You can get some very granular stuff happening percussively, but still have like your chords, so you don't have to work so hard. I think when we push like 180 BPM and stuff like that, you have to work so hard in your arrangement mode. And I don't have that much energy. I'm kind of lazy. I try to do only a few tracks, a few common components even. It's like foreground, background kind of stuff. And then, of course, percussion, which cuts through everything. So percussion has its own foreground, background kind of thing, and then effects for specific things. But you can see it's just very simplistic, not 80 or 90 tracks. I don't have the attention or the memory to work with that much stuff. Percussion's a few things. It's mainly kick and snare, and some, in this case, some top loops with this Life plugin, which is pretty cool. Have you checked this one out, Life? Oh, these are the stems, actually, the building blocks, the live plugins. Over here. I like it because I'm inspired by like musicians like Bonobo or John Hopkins. You know, this kind of organic techno. They have a lot of movement and like syncopation and things, and really like kind of leaning. John Hopkins like kind of leans a little bit more organic techno, right? But the variations they create and the textures and the samples they use, I think, are a very nice aspect of it. And so what this does is just give me a 15-second sampler on my phone. I can record up to 15 seconds, and then it helps me just generate some ideas that I can work with. And then you can edit it. It basically automatically slices it up, and then you can roll the dice and get some different things with that. Change the syncopation, more or less, such and such, kind of high level thinking. So I don't have to be so detail oriented because I have troubles losing focus. I can think more about, I want this to be more dense and syncopated and asymmetric. And you can add a kick. But I've got it like a really strong high cut here. In any case, once you get your idea, you can generate a few ideas on your short list here, and then go through and grab the stems or the entire loop in the raw source file, so you can take your samples into your DAW and do other processing like in Bitwig. It's pretty cool. And like, you know, I'm a big fan of constraints, I mean, that help us, limitations that help us be more creative and focused and move faster. So 15 seconds is, I think, a pretty good sample length. Yeah, so that was a good investment. I've gotten a lot of use out of that. Well, I'm getting more use as I get in the mindset and remember to sample things in my environment. And then that's making your music really unique to you, to your own world, your own life. So I like the premise too. For textured electronic. But yeah, I should probably, I've got to eat lunch. I'm getting a bit light-headed, low blood sugar. The rolling sampler by Bird. No, I haven't. Let me check that out. Bird rolling sampler. Rolling sampler, Bird's Things. Let's check it out. Chords audio, reaching it, as long as it's running. Okay, so it's like you can sample your own input. The DAW clock to record, cool. So, MIDI, coming in. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't gotten into that kind of mindset of self-sampling and looping, kind of. It almost reminds me of like the loop plugins, but not quite. But this would be good, for example, the MIDI cap, if I've got a generative piece, like in the grid. I've been exploring more generativity, randomness, to capture those generative bits. Bits and pieces as well as the audio output. Cool. Capture FX tails, yeah. Right, there's some nice stuff. Now, what's his name? I always forget his last name. Max what? Max Cooper. I think this is a big part of his workflow, is he sets up these massive effects chains and variations, and he just records himself noodling with the effects, and then picks out, like, at least I've seen people breaking down his workflow and trying to reproduce it. So this is like speculative, but yeah, I would show some on the screen, but I don't want to get a copyright strike. But basically, yeah, he noodles with these effects tails and then samples them just like this Birds plugin does, and then uses those as loops and layering and texture. So that's an interesting workflow idea as well. You just have a session dedicated to noodling and just like, it's like brainstorming and just turning knobs quickly and getting really extreme outputs and gnarly stuff. And then you can, of course, time stretch it and process it. And I'm not sure, I've never seen him like watch me work style, but the output's pretty interesting. And then what I really like is his like emphasis on audio visual thinking. So bringing together these cool soundscapes and really dense electronic, almost techno, like organic techno, with just really talented visual artists and scientific visualizations in particular. I don't know if you, yeah, Max Cooper, pretty cool stuff. Sometimes it's a bit more kind of mechanical and glitchy, which I can see is like something you're interested in as well. But yeah, it's from Germany, I think. Tipper, I've not heard of Tipper. David Tipper, British composer. Electronic music ranges from ambient to Tipper music. Interesting collage. I'm thinking about doing some noodling again. I've done it in the past with just these audiovisual representations and audio reactive music. I've got a couple of programs for that, but there's this nice language called P5JS, or also built on an idea called processing. And thinking about getting back into this as part of the work, having sessions, getting into some nice visualizations, generative visualizations, and then there's primitives in this environment that can do frequency analysis, like amplitude analysis, so then they can respond, these animated structures can respond to music. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how people are doing, what's going on with the audiovisual aspect of it, combining, I think, the senses. It's open source, so it's built on web standards, like JavaScript also, and web audio APIs, where it's not just for audio stuff. In fact, it's mostly for creative coding and even learning to program. But it's built on processing, which is programmed in Java, the processing language. So it's just a port of this concept of processing over to the web languages. But it has lots of things. It's being a visual environment, you can load in videos, images, generate particle systems. It's fun stuff. So we might do some of those sessions. I know this channel is kind of music oriented. I want to stay focused, but if it's music adjacent, I think is worth doing, especially when I see these works like what Max Cooper is doing with other artists. I could kind of do that with a little bit of Claude, generative AI, helping me program. Yeah, from the JS tag. But I've been looking at, there's these interactive shader format that is essentially, shaders are a visual programming language. It's very complex and mathematical, but these, there's a lot of them that people are sharing. And then these interactive ones, then you can interact not only just directly through direct manipulation, which it doesn't seem to be responding, maybe the example is not so good. But then you can put audio input to them. And so to that end, inside of Bitwig, I've got a plugin that uses this on my master bus called VS2. And this is actually how I got the name for this song, Ocean Waves. It's this plugin that's listening to the audio a little bit. That's also part of why. And then it generates visuals that you can record. This is actually a really nice plugin. Yeah, it's really nice. So there's some really easy ways to get into it, to take the audio into the visual realm. The plugins are on offer a lot of times. It's a little bit expensive, but worth it. And one thing I like is when they do these packs, they create some additional visualizations. And they're all, the visualizations are modular. So if you like a layer from one, you can bring it in to compose your own kind of combinations of these. So it's really cool. And it's like kind of Photoshop. You can blend, let's say I like this one. Then I can kind of blend it in. So there's more of this abstract universe. And with VS2, it's in the DAW, so you can automate it with the DAW automation curves. It's pretty cool. Or with the audio input, so I could have this like going boom, 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 stuff like that. I like it. And there's another plugin or another software I was using called Synesthesia, but the preset packs are so expensive with Synesthesia, whereas these, the ones for VS2 they're usually like sitting like 15 euros or something. So once you get the initial plugin, the costs, which is kind of expensive, but ooh, it's actually right on 40% off for your first purchase. You know, so about 80 euros. Then the plugins are a bit less expensive. For example, Shattered Illusions. You can see it's 20 euros, and it comes with 65 presets, a bunch of shaders, including media, and you can, of course, use your own images and video in the core thing, so you don't even have to buy any of these expansions, but they're a good jump start. It's like buying presets from Arturia. Yeah, exactly. It's like Resume, but cheaper, and maybe not as feature rich. Because I've been checking out these. What are the options? And even Resume is like really confusing. Do I need Avenue? Do I need Arena? I think I would just need Avenue to do a similar thing. I don't know. But so I bounced from that. And then of course Touch Designer. I was looking into Touch Designer, but that's free, but then really expensive. Synesthesia is a really nice one, but it's more expensive if you want OSC support, which I've never used it. But MIDI seems to be sufficient. But the integration with Synesthesia, it's like a standalone. So you have to route, you have to do some fancy audio routing on Mac at least, and maybe on Linux as well. And then if you want to get their plugin packs, they're like kind of expensive. Their marketplace is a bit expensive, but it's cool too. But I'm just thinking like, yeah, if I could generate some of these interactive shaders or even just P5JS things and, you know, contribute those as open source, I think that would be fun. And, you know, I wouldn't be on probably the level of doing stuff that Max Cooper's doing, but nonetheless, that's kind of what I'm aiming for. Cool. Yeah, but yeah, I gotta eat lunch and get ready for the afternoon. But yeah, unspecified. It's nice to meet you. Putting him into Vital, yeah. Vital synth is really good. Oh, and by the way, did you hear? Because I was watching a kind of an interview when they announced that Surge sampler, basically, that the Surge actually came, and the Surge sampler came from the original developers of Bitwig. Like, it probably even shares some of the same algorithms. The Bitwig's proprietary. So that was kind of a nice nod that reaffirms my choice of Bitwig as my ongoing main DAW for electronic music production. That they've created this whole really powerful ecosystem around Surge, and that's led to really great stuff like the Surge for VCV rack stuff, and possibly even now this sampler. But by the way, do you use VCV rack? So a lot of those algorithms are the same, I think, or very similar in sound and probably in the implementation to what the Bitwig devices are doing. Yeah, VCV is its own kind of world, and Eurorack is, I don't know, it's a little bit mind-bending. And every module has its own design, and these features are hidden and implicit or through weird button combinations. But yeah, I've been enjoying the Bitwig grid. It's a little bit more clear in my mind about how things are, where the signal is going and what's going on in the interface. What annoyed you about VCV rack? Yeah, the signal flow, as well as generative patching. I think there's some really cool stuff I could do on stream as well with, like, I've been learning about Euclidean rhythms, randomness, generative voicing, constrained generativity. So it's like constrained to a chord sequence or a key or frequency ranges, like note ranges. Yeah, kind of rack is really in your face. Everything is like wires and stuff, but have you checked out Colin Binders? He does a lot of tech. No, but reunion. I don't want to get a copyright strike, but some of his works are so cool. The way he builds up, it's very techno. It's very techno. It's like one element at a time, but his performances are compelling. I've watched this reunion so many times. Just how he builds it from something so small to loud and massive, and you think it can't get any more massive, and he just uses distortion and wave folding, and you can hear these harmonics reflecting back past, within the Nyquist prompt, and just gnarly distortion and almost pure noise at times, but still musical and still rhythmic. It's really cool. But yeah, so working like that and creating compositions and dynamic and building an arrangement is something I really struggled with in modular environment like VCB rack. So I kind of find the nice balance in the Bitwig where it gives me the arranger and the sequencing and automation and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. He's very similar to Richard Devine. I haven't been following as much Devine's modular work, but anyway, the audio's Silent. Yeah, thanks for remembering me. All right. Hopefully see you around. Yeah, it's nice to meet you. And I'll look forward to checking out your music. Have a great day.